HannaTalk. What is up, Gurren Lagann fans? Simon here. Welcome back to my channel, HannaTalk. Hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic on a beautiful Saturday morning right here in Melbourne, Australia, depending where you are in the world. And today I'm here with a very special guest. Now, this is an actor who has best been known to fans in many projects from Metal Gear Solid as Psycho Mantis to Mask as Matt Tracker, and has been involved in many projects in the last few years, such as Shaman King, the reboot series, Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, Vinland Saga, Lupin the Third, Eureka 7 High Evolution, and also made his return to the Gurren Lagann series through the movies Childhood's End and The Lights in the Sky Are Stars as Deaka Litna and Guam, and also the Pluto series, and so much more. Please welcome back to the channel the amazing Doug Stone.
Oh, please, stop the applauding. Keep it down. I can't hear him if you're going to applaud that. Hi.
Very well, thanks, Doug. How are you?
Good. I've got a kitty flopped out right here. She came just in time, so I had to move the keyboard. But she's keeping cool with me. I'm in LA, and it's very hot here. We're having record-breaking temperatures, so got the air conditioning going, and the kitties and I are cooling down.
That's fantastic. In comparison to Melbourne, especially here in Australia, which is like, as I think Neil Finn from Crowded House once said, 4 seasons in one day. So if you ever plan to come to Australia for a comic convention, you're going to experience that in all of its glory. So it's like, hey, if you want summer, you can get that plus the 3 other seasons all in one day.
Yeah. Well, it is strange that in LA, and I don't ski. I'm originally from Canada, but I've never skied. I could, if I wished to, make a drive of a couple of hours and go skiing on snow from here. But I think, at least that unless climate change has taken care of that, but at least a few years ago, it was still possible to ski here, but not 4 seasons in one.
That'd be interesting to see something like that. That'd be crazy. But no, that's awesome though. Now, I'd like to start off by saying a huge congratulations on the Gurren Lagann movies. How did it feel to come back into that series through these 2 movies, and what was it like to work on those 2 projects?
Well, a reasonable amount of work that you do ends up coming back. I mean, not obviously every project, but I've learned not to be surprised. The first time I did something, and 10 or 15 years later, I don't remember which was the first, but say 10 or 15 years later, somebody came back and said, we're redoing so-and-so, we want you to come back. It's like a surprise, a total shock. Psycho Mantis has come back after the original recordings to do stuff, and that was a total shock. So when this came along, I was kind of like, okay, great. I'm actually in the midst of, I can't name the show, but a producer director from another show just contacted me from something from, I think, 2002, and was asking me a few questions. He's trying to get his VHS tapes converted over because it was that long ago to look at the show, and I was trying to help him find a place. So you never know what's going to come back. So it wasn't a big shock, just a pleasant surprise, really. And what you have to do is just get re-familiarized with the theme of the show, with your character's attitude. I do quite a bit of work, so it's not all filed away off the top of my head what that character sounded like or what their backstory was or whatever. I've got to go do a little research if you're going to do them again. That's what I did for that project.
No, that's absolutely fantastic. And especially reading up a little bit about Gurren Lagann, which is when I first saw the description for that series, or first saw the pictures for the characters you were playing in the movies in particular, was almost kind of feeling like a very superhero kind of show. But then to reading about the series was a very mecha-styled anime, and considered by many as one of the best anime released in the last few years. And also, has gone from that path of, a lot of mecha anime that have changed the genre around it, particularly taking inspiration from Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is appropriate because we spoke about I interviewed Spike Spencer a few years back, and he talked about you quite a fair bit in such really kind words, which is just fantastic.
Kind of.
Absolutely.
I haven't known Spike quite. I haven't seen him recently, but yeah, we go back a ways.
Absolutely, but that's fantastic. When it comes to working with a lot of genres in anime, for example, obviously looking at it from a content perspective, but also from an actor's perspective, especially where you are at that stage of your career right now versus when you first started, like how important is it for you to have all these genres, try to keep things as fresh as possible, but at the same time try to stay true to what makes the genre like what it is? And especially, how do you personally view a lot of the content and especially a lot of the projects that come out now versus when you first started in your career?
Well, they're certainly more sophisticated. I mean, everything technically is more sophisticated. Storylines tend to be a little bit more complicated, which I prefer. As an actor, I started out on stage and on camera and studied acting. So when I'm doing voice characters, I'm using that same approach. So it's more fun for me if they're more complicated. If I'm just playing something that's very simple and like it's a game that's a shooting game and it's just go get them boys, come on, let's kill them all. I'm happy to be doing the job, but it's not a challenge. It's a little bit like, oh well, I'm just stamp it out. It's all the same, just like the last game. It's fun when it's more challenging, when there's something about the character that's maybe they've got their faults or their weaknesses or they're angry about something that happened to them in their past, or they've got something they really desperately want to accomplish, but they don't want to let other people know. They have secrets. All those things make it a lot more fun. So the more complicated, the better for me, as far as not so much so where the storyline gets complicated and you can't understand what's going on, but for the character to have depth is a lot of fun. When I started, it was really pre-anime. There really wasn't much in the way of anime. A few people had taken Japanese cartoons and dubbed them, but I don't think the word anime even existed at that time in the 60s, with, gosh, I'm trying to think of some things that were around back then. None of the titles are coming to me, but you know them. Bob Brilliant. I did play Dr. Bob Brilliant in one about a Robotech. That be no.
I think it might have been. I think it might have been Robotech. Yeah.
What about a robot? Anyway, it came back again, and I got to do a real old school character from the '60s, Dr. Bob Brilliant in this, the Gigantor. So that was really one of the first. So it was kind of a fun thing for me to be able to jump in and redo a character from one of those early ones. But really, anime and gaming were just getting their footing in the late '80s, early to mid '90s, and I'd already been in voiceover for about close to 10 years at that point. So it was a whole new world coming at us, a whole new opportunity for work as well, of course, and a whole new something new we had to educate ourselves in.
Right.
In the feeling and the genre and the vibe of the show. You always want to fit what the flow of the show is, the style of the show, and they're going to vary within anime, but also anime is going to be different than some original animation. It's going to be different than some games that are, they all have their own kind of style and truth to them, and you have to adjust accordingly to what you're doing.
Absolutely. No, but that's fantastic though. I think it's really good of you to see that, like, where you are at that stage of your career, like as the years were starting to go on in your career, you start to focus a lot more on like looking for complex characters in like specific storylines as opposed to trying going one dimensional with like the roles that you were picking out and stuff. But especially with like the state of like a lot of animated projects in the last few years versus when they first started and everything, how do you personally view like a lot of the content, whether it's live action, animation, that has come out in the last few years versus what they were like back when you first started? Like, how do you view? What's been your opinion about the quality of all that?
I don't know that I'm an expert in the anime side of it. Because of my age, I'm not as much of an anime fan as the younger generation who are going out to watch it. Anime came along when I was already 40, close to 40 years old. I'm 73 years old, and I'll be 74 in a few months. So I wasn't raised on that. It was just a work opportunity that came. Now, certainly I got familiar with it and started to watch anime because I wanted to learn what it was all about. But I think the younger actors would have a better view of, so far as storyline goes. I guess I'm looking at the technical aspects of it and seeing changes in what they can accomplish, especially in the games, the 3D and some of the stuff that they can accomplish now that maybe look pretty clumsy then. Like early computer games that were Pong, where you put up a stick and a ball would hit it and it would bounce back, bounce back. Wow, that's amazing. And now you look at what the computer games are, and it's like mind-blowing. You feel like you're immersed in it or whatever. So it's been a massive changes that have gone on. But I'm not as in all of that as a player, as an appreciator, as much as I am somebody who takes part in it as an actor. And I'm not directing anymore. I used to direct anime and games, primarily in the 80s, 90s, into the early 2000s. I haven't directed since something called Dragonian Era or something like that in, I think, 2012. So it's been about 12 years since I kind of immersed myself deeper into the world of it. And when I pulled back from that and said, okay, I'm gonna take a vacation and just be an actor again. Like when I started, not direct and produce and write and whatever. Now it's just fun like I just go in and whatever they want me to do that isn't screaming or hurting, and as long as it's not objectionable, I'm in. And the more complicated the character, the better. You want me to cry? Great. I want to use all my acting chops. Now, I always did when I was younger, too, but you're trying to get your footing, and anything they tell you, we want a monster to scream for 3 hours, I'll do it. 3 a.m., I'll be there, I'll do it. You know, you're starting out, you want to do anything you can do, they'll remember you and bring you back, and hopefully, if they believe in you and like what you do, they'll give you a little bit bigger role, a little more complex role, and then suddenly, you hopefully are going to start doing leads or more complex side characters. I'm at an age now where I don't do the leads anymore because they're usually younger characters. It's very rare that I do a lead character. But I get to do a lot of fun supporting characters, which is great. When I started off as an actor thinking stage and on camera, I wanted to be a character actor. I wasn't looking to be a star. I didn't think I had the looks or the whatever that wasn't my jam. It was like, man, I love these character actors. In one thing, they're the psycho killer that you have to be dating. The other one, they're the loving grandfather. And the other one, they're the funny little character on the street. I want to be that kind of an actor who can play all this variation of stuff. So it's still fun for me because I still get to do, although they're older and they're not the star, that's fine. The fun is that I'm playing a pretty wide variety of characters still. And that keeps me engaged, interested.
That's fantastic. And it's interesting you were talking about like the voice directing side of things, how you talked about how you directed anime from and a lot of projects from the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s. Did having that directing experience really help you as like in terms of like performances and really understanding it from a voice actor's perspective? It's like, okay, now I see what's going on in the greatest sense of things. And how important do you think that is for a lot of actors to have that experience, like not just being an actor, but getting exposed to a lot of different parts of the industry, so to speak?
It's a good question. I think it feeds both ways. I think being a director who had acted already, had already been acting, helps me as a director in that I could communicate with my actors better. I wasn't asking things of them that they couldn't do, vocally and whatnot. I mean, I understood the limitations and I understood, hey, you can only get that far without a breath. Let's find a place for you to cheat a breath. Like the technical aspects, the acting aspects, I think I knew how to communicate with them. But certainly, after that, I was a lot more sympathetic when I went in and I'm being directed by somebody else. Yeah, I was definitely could feel myself in their shoes. To this day, I can still talk to the young directors that I have in their language, and I'm sympathetic to what they're up against with time constraints, budget constraints, trying to make certain things fit. And gosh, boy, if they'd only let me change the translation slightly, this would fit a lot better, but the client doesn't want it, and I'm happy to help and say, what if we use this word? It fits the mouth flaps, and maybe they would approve of that, because it's kind of like, I'm happy to jump in and be helpful if they want me to speak up, because I sympathize with their position. I know what it's like to be on the other side of the glass and have all that pressure. They're going to get through all those actors all in that day and get it done on time, and they got somebody over their shoulder, and I've been there, so I think it's definitely helpful. I mean, not every actor wants to direct or gets the opportunity to. I was lucky to. But certainly, I think if an actor got the chance, I would encourage them to take it, even if, for one project. I would encourage them to take it just so they can see what it's like. It's like every doctor should be a patient at some point, I think. Every car mechanic should have his car fixed by somebody else and say, wow, I'm never going to treat people that way. Or, to be in it, all the different aspects of it, immersed in it, it helps you, I think, broaden your perspective.
Absolutely, and I think that's definitely important. I think for any person that's going into the industry for the very, not just people within the industry for the first time, but people that have been doing this for such a really long time, which goes into with how much changes the industry, the entertainment industry has been going at this point in time, with the amount of technology and social media that we have at our fingertips. Like and especially from someone who's been in your career for as long as you have, how easy do you think it is for anybody to make it into this type of industry now with the level of technology and social media that we have at our fingertips? And do you feel like with the stuff that we've had that you had back in your day, with the networking, with just meeting people and all that kind of stuff, do you feel like that is still relevant to this day forward, and also learning to adapt at the same time to what the industry is now?
Definitely adapting. Now, I'm in a different position because I don't even operate with an agent anymore. I don't need to keep working if I didn't want to. I'm doing it because I enjoy it, and I tend to either audition for or just simply get hired quite often. I'll just get an email saying, we'd like you to be in this project. Are you interested? Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks. So I'm in a very different position at the end than the younger people starting out at the beginning. I have a certain amount of reputation that gets me work. I think it is, there was a lot packed into what you were asking, so I'll try to address all of it. I think it is more difficult now. I would not want to be starting out now, because when I began, I was started out as on camera and stage doing some radio commercials to augment my living. I had got radio commercials up in Canada that I was doing. There was no animation industry in Canada at all. There was in LA, but LA, I thought I'll never get to LA. That's just like a big dream. When I did get to LA, which was very fortunate in 1985, to do a cartoon series, Mask, Mobile Armored Strike Command, and was told, hey, you're good enough to stay and work here. Then, yeah, I was networking. I was trying to meet people. I was doing monsters at 3 a.m., whatever it took for people to, hey, I'm Doug Stone. Don't forget me. Don't forget me. I'm cooperative. I show up on time. I do the job, and I'm easy to work with. Thank you. Write down that number, But there wasn't all the social media. I didn't do a lot of the parties and stuff. Some people believe in, like, I'll go hang out in every Hollywood party or whatever. That's not my style. But I was doing theater works. I was meeting other actors that way on stage, and some of them were in voiceover, and so that helped. And you give each other tips and help each other out. The voiceover community was smaller. We used to have parties. We used to go have baseball games where people would bring their kids, go bowling nights. It was a tiny community that was originally doing the dubbing work, the beginnings of anime. Most of the actors didn't want to do it. The voice actors went, oh, I don't want it. It's too hard to match mouth flaps. I just want to do original animation. I want to do looping voices for TV shows and films. So we kind of had the world to ourselves. And it was the same when the games started. When I started directing early Dynasty Warriors, stuff like this in the 90s, I was grabbing my dubbing actors saying, come on, we're going to do games now. Whoopee, it's a little different. Let me explain what we're doing, and da-da-da-da. And everyone, wow, this is cool. And, we all jumped in. But it was like we were looking for more actors to do it. Now, there isn't enough work for all the people who want to do it. There's so many fans that have grown up loving anime and games that go, I want to be an actor, that it's flooded. It's completely flooded. And we are fighting against AI. Voices are being replicated. Studios and companies are looking for cheaper ways to do things. Voiceover actors are getting bumped. Our voices are getting stolen. There's so many rip-off people now that we always have. Every industry has rip-off people. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. I did things before I got in this. I've been working since I was 16, so I did a lot of things before I went in this industry full time. But the amount in voiceover right now is incredible amount of rip-off people. stealing your voice. Yeah, I'm interested in having you do this audition for me. Sure, steal your voice, go use it for my own stuff. You don't get a penny. They just replicate your voice and do something with it. You have to try to catch them. It's just so complicated. And I know I'm disappointing people who are sitting there thinking, boy, I really want to get in this, but it's tough. It's really tough. And people often think that it's just a matter of if I can make funny voices, I can be an actor, voice actor. And it's acting. It's not just making funny voices. It's not listening to me do Psycho Mantis, imitating it, which can be done, and saying, look, now I'm a voice actor. I created him. I created that voice. You have to be able to create voices from a picture that you're shown for an audition and say, what could he sound like? What would be really strange and weird? Psycho Mantis, I looked at that strange script and went, he's got to be like from somewhere that nobody knows where he's from. I'll use a little bit of German mixed with some Russian, and so you don't know what country he's from. He's unidentifiable, but he doesn't sound like anybody from where you come from. He's not alien from another planet, but he's alien. So you've got to be creative and come up with these things to create characters.
Absolutely.
And that's acting training. So I do recommend that all people who are interested in voiceover, I hope that you can convert that passion to acting. And voiceover is one of the things you can do as an actor, certainly. And you'll stand a better chance of succeeding in voiceover if you have some acting training. And
Absolutely.
then when you go for voiceover training, go to active people who are in the industry currently, not somebody who did voices in the 1970s, and they're going to teach you how to make a funny voice. That's not the style anymore. You need people who were in SpongeBob or who are in all these current things, who know what sells these days, and they know what the social media and how you get ahead and how you drive the business part of it in this modern world, which I'm not as conversant in. My daughter put me on Instagram. Whoa, I'm on Instagram, and I give her stuff once in a while, and she throws it on there because I don't know how you do it. But all the younger actors are very versed in all that. They have to be. They have to be social media experts these days. It's a whole different world, but it's show business.
Absolutely.
Right? Got to pay the bills.
No, absolutely. I think you absolutely hit the nail right on the head with that. In that it's kind of that aspect of it's what you know, it's who you know, of course, and at the same time, it's using social media and all of that to your advantage in a way, which obviously I know that coming from myself as a content creator, with having done this channel for the last 9 years and now starting to do the acting stuff myself, more for fun than anything else, really. I'm not saying that hey, I'm gonna go into becoming an actor and all that kind of stuff. It's I'm not interested in doing that myself personally, but I'm doing it just for fun more than anything else, just to get something a bit different across from that. And because I wanted to be an actor and voice actor when I was growing up, and then went down the path of music, but being somebody who's in a part of the entertainment industry, I know that from full experience, where you have a bunch of those people that have grown up from that older generation that have thought, okay, let's continue using the ways that we have now, but at the same token, we have to adapt to what it currently is now. And I understand, of course, with AI technology and everything, even though AI has existed for a really long time, has only begun to get more notice in the last couple of years with the way it's being utilized in a lot of different industries and stuff, which actually goes into my next point here, because recently we've had a video game strike. I believe it's a video game strike, and I believe there's also an animation strike as well that's been occurring in America because of the use of AI technology. But I also would not be surprised. What was that, sorry?
In part because of AI. That is one of the issues, but it's pay raises and other things. But AI is a big part of it, yes.
That's right, yes. So obviously, AI being a part of that, of course, but also with a lot of the issues that we've noticed has been coming from animation in the last couple of years, especially from really big film companies that have seemed have thrown away animation like it's nothing, even though it's been a big part of us for such a long time. And a lot of big animated projects in the last couple of years have hit such really big accolades. But hearing about all the stuff there, and especially from someone who's worked in animation and in video game work as an actor, what do you feel what are your predictions personally for the overall animation and video game and voice acting industry, and how do you feel a lot of animated projects from really big film companies are going to respond to this? Like, what do you think is going to happen with a lot of big animated projects from these really big film companies?
Well, the big film companies tend to hire stars to star in their stuff. They even though I don't think the kids who are the prime audience care if it's a TV star or not, and they might even recognize an animation or anime star even more than they do a film star. If they're 12 years old or 14, they might recognize Steve Bloom or Bob Bergen or whomever else more than they recognize Mel Gibson or whatever. But the film companies have their way of thinking, and the parents pay the ticket. So they throw it out. Mel Gibson will be the funny turtle, with the faux Australian accent in so and so, and the parents go, oh, it's a big film. I'll go take my kid. So I think that will. I don't think personally that the big animation films are going to change that much. I think they've got a formula that works of using big stars for their animation. Now, some of the illustrators may find themselves out of work as there's more stuff done via computers, and it'll be a smaller amount of people doing it. There's obviously already more CGI all over the place, and because of the advent of CGI, I think, and popularity, we're seeing all these Marvel and superhero type big, everything has to be big blockbuster films, less and less of the smaller films, which I tend to enjoy. But in voiceover overall, I'm afraid I'm kind of not very optimistic. I don't. When I listen to a lot of commercials, I hear untrained voices, and I guess that's kind of the style now, is to use people who sound like just walked in off the street and said, "Oh, I just tried this, and it's really good. You gotta try it too." And I'm going, "Oh, no enunciation. He didn't cross his T. He didn't. It drives me crazy." But that's the style these days. So it certainly opens it up to everybody to do commercials, but it makes it awfully hard for the pros who've learned their craft to make a living. When you're doing just to jump to that, when you're doing a 30-second commercial, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but it's something I do. They give me the copy and I read it out loud, and it comes out in 35 seconds, comfortably. My job is to go, okay, give me one more. What do you need, 30? And that was 35. And on the second take, I nail it at 30. I figure out where I shorten, where I take my breath, where I do this, probably much like music, where somebody's maybe overwritten a certain passage, and you go, I'm going to have to just tweak that a little bit so we don't lose the metronome beat here, and to make that, and I've got to do it with my voice as my instrument, and my brain. So there's skill levels in all of this, but with machinery, they can speed up your voice, they can slow it down, etc., etc. If it's up to the audience. If the audience will accept AI in their cartoons, and they're going to slowly do that more and more until new generations have only been fed machine-created voices, then who's going to protest? Who's going to care about the voiceover actors? People want to be entertained. It's wonderful if they're sympathetic to us, but in the end, people just want to be entertained, and they're going to buy what they like.
I think it's definitely true in that regard, and I will go on record to say, and I've said this across in all the interviews that I've done. I will say this to the day I die. When you ask like who's going to care about all this stuff, you're talking to one of them right now. Having been doing this for the last 9 years of my life, I started up this channel for that very reason, to give more attention, to show my support and love to the voice acting and the animation industries, because you guys are the real rock stars right there. So that's what I say right up front.
Thank you. But I hope that, I'm worried about the 10-year-olds who put on a cartoon and it's all AI voices, no credits at the end, so they don't know that there's supposed to be credits at the end for real live people, and if they start getting fed that. But it's the same with music. I love music. I can't play a lick, I can't sing a note, but I have 14,000 songs in my iTunes. Not a day goes by without music. Everywhere I go, I love it. And I hate when they first started to do automated drum tracks, and I go, that's not a real drummer. I want to hear a real drummer with passion. I don't care if he misses he's this far off the beat. If his passion, like I want it real. I want human beings. So I support all industries that human creativity.
Absolutely. And the way I see it, of course, with like a lot of the voice actors that will be coming up in the industry as it starts to go along, is like definitely with like the really big film companies, they've got that formula happening, which is like they'll get the big stars in because they'll get the people in and stuff. But occasionally you'll have like the really big voice actors that have been part of that industry slowly start to creep into the bigger film parts. Like Tara Strong is a good example of that during the Loki series. Colleen O'Shaughnessy, who made her return to the Tails character in the live-action Sonic the Hedgehog movies, which was a pretty big deal at that time, to me anyway. And for them to say, you know what, we're going to get her into this because we know she's been Tails for a long time. She's absolutely fantastic. We're not going to change that. Let's get her in. And of course, like a lot of the other voice actors, they'll work in like the smaller industry, in like the smaller film companies, not necessarily the big ones, but the ones that really, that at least try to look after the actors and say, you know, we're not going to treat them as trash. They're human beings. They're voice actors. They know the job. Let's get these guys in to do the job right. As for the future of AI, let me know in about 6 months' time about what's going to happen with that.
See, again, there is another strike on right now, trying to get game companies to go union, but also trying to keep the AI out. It's as you say, it's an incredible tool, and it can be used to do some remarkable things. It's amazing. But when it's being used, not just to take people, and there's always been automation, and people have always screamed, oh no, the cars are being made by machines. People will be put out of work, which was true, and they had to learn new skills. But it is life. There's always going to be automation. But when it starts to knock out the creativity, the creative arts, that's where I get scared. Not just for me. I'll be okay. I'm old and I got my pensions. I'm taken care of. But it makes me feel terrible for all the people coming up, all the young, creative, brilliant people who have these wonderful ideas, great talents, and all the different creative arts. They deserve, I feel, to get their chance. And I don't want to see them vying against a computer or a robot for a chance to sell their painting or do a voiceover job or whatever else. Yes, there will always be some place, I hope, for some of the well-known voice actors to prosper, but the blue-collar actors, I worry about them being pushed down and out of the picture more and more.
Absolutely. Well, it's still early 2024. We'll have to see what the next few years brings along with that course. And of course, coming out of the pandemic and the lockdown, with all these changes start to happen and everything, it's still pretty early days. Some people have gotten over the pandemic and the lockdown a little faster than others. So, and as the changes happen, we have to kind of adapt to that, but also use common sense with like a lot of the big technology that's coming into our lives and everything, and say, you know what? AI is fantastic for a lot of things, but not perfect for everything. So we're gonna have to wait and see on that. So yeah.
We just have to remember that you can't count on morality when there's potential for profit. Right?
True.
Unfortunately, you can't count. I mean, people have lost their lives over people's greed. So losing their jobs is pretty secondary to the fact there's been wars over greed or whatever. So that's what makes me a little cynical and concerned. Unless governments get involved and laws are passed for the AI industries themselves. And I'm just reading an article about a guy who was, I don't remember his name, he was right at the start of AI and whatever, and he's very worried and concerned about where it's going and saying, this is where I intended it, and there is a moral ambiguity to some of the things that are being done that, as you say, we'll see. And just cross. But this is why I'm running for president, and if elected, I will take care of all of that. My vice president, I don't know, I guess you can't tilt my computer down. She's sleeping across the computer desk right now with her head on my hand, gently purring. And Minnow Minu, my vice presidential candidate.
Well, if they were to put you as president, then I'd say we're in very good hands. The country would be in really good hands.
Thank you. No AR-27s in the hands of 14-year-olds.
But no, that's fantastic though. And going back across to Gurren Lagann for a sec. Now, one of the things that was really noticeable about that was that it had a previous English dub before yourself and all the other actors came on board to do the later English dub that would become part of the series and the movies. And there have been several anime that have gone through various English dubs over the years, being Cardcaptor Sakura being the best example, Evangelion being another example of that. How do you like when you first started into Gurren Lagann, what has been your opinion about anime that's been going through several redubs, especially in the English language, or did you really just not care about it that much when you first signed up to Gurren Lagann?
Yeah, I just signed up for it. That's somebody else's worry. I mean, I once did something called Coco's Delivery Service or something like that. Very early anime was really well known in its time, and maybe not Coco, but something's delivery service. Anyway, I did a dub of it. It was a super well-known anime in maybe 1990. And I was so proud. And then I found out there's like 5 versions of it. It's been dubbed by other studios. They go, so somebody says they heard it and go, oh, I was in that. And they say, well, you're not credited. Well, that's not the version I did. Somebody else directed that. So I learned early, you don't own any of it. None of it's pristine, especially when you're coming on as a hired gun. I'm an independent contractor, hired gun. As long as they're not hurting anybody, breaking any rules or whatever else, I'm in. The history of these things and why they get dubbed or redubbed, it can be for the strangest reasons. It's not necessarily because of the quality. It can be for political reasons. I used to have a client called Golden Harvest Pictures, and I used to dub some of their live action pictures from China, early Jackie Chan pictures and stuff was what I was doing. And one or two of them got redubbed by somebody else. What happened was Golden Harvest went through ownership stuff, and just like Hollywood studios, new people came in and said, well, we want to do it our way. So even though they had a pre-existing dub of a film I'd done, I forget which one it was, I found out that and I knew who did it, they completely redubbed the entire thing. And we did it. You already have a full dub that you paid for. But the new administration did their own dub of it. So so I learned early, you don't know what all the... Are you familiar with an old film called Chinatown?
I may
Jack
have,
Nicholson?
yeah, I think I may have heard that film from someone. I was looking up Jackie Chan at one stage.
Okay, well, in Chinatown, at the end of the film, he's totally befuddled by everything that's gone down, and it ends in Chinatown. And one of the cops says to him, forget it, Jake, it's Chinatown. In other words, you'll never grasp what's going on. It's a whole different culture. It's a whole different world. You're a Caucasian, ex-cop. Forget it. You're never going to figure it all out. It's Chinatown. So I kind of use that. It was, I think, a Robert Towne script. I kind of use that for myself sometimes. I'll look at something and go, it's Chinatown. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why, but they're paying properly. They're treating everybody nicely. It's their dollar. Whatever.
I think that's a good attitude to have right there, because for someone who's watched a lot of anime dubs over the years, especially a series that's been dubbed so many times over the years, obviously like Evangelion, Sailor Moon being a really notable example, One Piece and Cardcaptor Sakura being the most notable examples in that obviously for a number of reasons, like obviously when it comes to doing the redub, they'll say, oh, we prefer this performance to that one there, or if the anime itself has been changed or edited out to younger audiences, and it's like, you know what? No, we're not going to do that. Let's do it the way it was done in the original Japanese version, or closer to the original source material, even if it means having to get in like completely different actors for that, or actors that we feel like are going to do a stronger job in this iteration of that. I personally see it as just like very different iterations and different options. It's like I love all that stuff for very different reasons, and that's the way it should be seen. It's like going from dub to sub, like at voice acting. If you prefer the dub stuff, that's fine. If you prefer the sub stuff, that's perfectly okay too. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yep. And we don't, as actors, don't own the characters. The original animation series I did in '85-6 that got me to LA, Mask, Mobile Armored Strike Command, they keep talking about bringing it back again. It was like a G.I. Joe Transformers kind of show. A bunch of superheroes fighting villains, and our vehicles would transform into airplanes and helicopters and whatnot, a lot of toys and everything. And some people get upset because they say, well, we're thinking of getting this actor to... I was the lead in 7 other characters. But, the lead was kind of an important thing to be. And they said, well, we're thinking of getting so-and-so to do it. And I've had people say, aren't you upset, Doug? I don't own it. And I'm gray-haired now. When I did that, it was 40 years ago. My voice was younger. I was younger. I get why they might want a younger person doing it. I don't own that character. So it doesn't make me angry or embittered, if they take that format, spin it in a new direction, it belongs to them. I was paid for the work I did. All I ask is if they talk about doing a live action version, believe it or not, and all I say is do a Stan Lee, would you? In other words, put us, the original cast who still are alive, one of us is passed unfortunately, put us at a coffee table outdoors, and as everybody rushes by to fight crime, just have us turn and go, wow, look at that, or look at them, and just give us a little cameo for and the kids will like it. The original fans would love that. But I get why they wouldn't want an older guy voicing a 35-year-old crime fighter or whatever. So I'm cool with it. Just roll with it.
No, but that's fantastic though. And of course, funnily enough, because we are going to be getting a Transformers G.I. Joe crossover movie later in the year, as you were just mentioning about that. And my question to everyone out there, once this interview's up later today, let me know in the comments below, what do you want them to do in terms of live action adaptations of any of the work that Doug Stone has done, especially the more mecha styled series that he's worked on, and leave a like or a comment if you really want to see Doug Stone make a Stanley cameo in any of the live action properties. That would just be so amazing.
Very cool. I mentioned this to a friend of mine, and for fun, he took a toy, put a superimposed picture of my head on it, and said, guy at coffee table toy. And, it would be like for the Mask movie, you could get the guy at coffee table Funko Pop of me sitting at the coffee, with my coffee in my hand. Or whatever.
That would be amazing to see that. Well, we have been getting a lot of live action adaptations of a lot of this sort of stuff over the years, so anything is totally possible. That'd be pretty amazing to see that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, going across into one of the other projects you did, which was Eureka 7, in which you came back through the High Evolution movie as as Alfred Golby. What was it like to come back to Eureka 7 through the movie? And because you originally played Stoner during the original Eureka 7 series, when that movie first came about, were you hoping to come back as Stoner originally for that film, or like oh, I'm gonna play a new character? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, roll with the punches. That's enough in life to get anxious about. So no, I'm just if I'm getting hired again on a project, I'm just happy to be hired again. I might mention in some instances, just in case they don't know, oh, you know that I played so-and-so in that, right? They go, oh, yeah, well, okay, cool. As long as you know, and that's fine, and you've made this decision, great, But just so you're aware of it. But no, I'm fine. If they want to recast me in a different role or whatever else, it's all cool. Again, I don't own any of it. I know my voice has changed over the years. It has to. Over this period of time. So there's going to be instances where they may say, gosh, you were great for that in 1992, but in 2024, your voice doesn't quite have the power behind it, or the youthful energy, or the whatever behind it, or whatever they're thinking, or the character is been reanimated slightly differently, and they're not going to be quite the same as they were. We'd like you to do something different. It's all cool. It's all fun.
Absolutely. No, that's fantastic though. Especially looking at a series like Eureka 7, which has jumped around quite a fair bit in the timeline from the original series to the sequel to the movies at that stage. But will we hope to see you come back as Stoner, as like an older version of the character, when they eventually get to doing more Eureka 7 projects?
That'd be fun. I remember Stoner. I forget a lot. I've done a lot of stuff over the years. Only part of it is on the IMDb, as you may be aware. Tons and tons of commercials, tons of providing voices for TV shows and films. I've done over 1,000 episodes or films where my voice has been in a TV show or a film or whatever. So there's a lot to keep in here. But I remember Stoner, just because he kind of reminded me of kids I knew in the 60s, who were tooting. And also like California stoners, right? Like down at the beach, trying to catch a good wave. Right. So anyway, I liked Stoner. I think an older version of Stoner would be fun. I'd have my own ideas of what he would be like, but obviously they would be the creative forces. But that would be fun to find a character like that I've done that now now saying, okay, it's 25 years later, same character. Yes, I think that would be very cool from an acting standpoint, because I'm referring to what I did originally, but also honoring the fact that he is older. It could be fun.
I would definitely love to see that. That would be absolutely fantastic. And looking across all the different projects that you've done in the last few years, which obviously from the Shaman King reboot to Resident Evil to Vinland Saga, and all the other projects I mentioned before, but what was it like working across all these different projects, and especially with the live action adaptations we've been getting in the last couple of years and are currently starting to get? What project do you see personally that would translate really well into a live action property?
Oh my goodness, that's not something I've ever thought about. So I'm having to spin my wheels here to think. Is it? This might be more than 5 years ago, but I think it was called Kill la Kill. I'm trying to think of the one where I played the guy who always wore a gas mask, not Psycho, but he wore a lab coat and a gas mask, and he stole a girl's head. He was a really whacked out character, and I can't remember if that was Kill la Kill or not. But I think that could be a fun show, because with CGI and everything, you could actually do some of the stuff that was animated, and it was wacky. I like wacky. If it's going to be comedic, I like it when it's really twisted and out there and wacky, like totally surprising what's happening, like not at all what you expected. That's my jam for the comedic wacky stuff, and I like acting in those. So I'm not sure if I'm getting my titles crossed up or not, but somebody out there will know, and they'll make a comment. What? No, Doc, it was so and so, not Kill la Kill.
I personally would love to see them do a Kill la Kill live action adaptation. That would be really solid to see that. And I think also, going back to another project that you did recently, which was the Resident Evil Infinite Darkness movie, especially because Resident Evil started in the games that were translated into the live action movies with Mila Jovovich, but they were more action based. And of course, they did the live action movie, which tried to honor the original games in that more horror post apocalyptic kind of atmosphere. Even though there has been a lot of movies and shows that have done that style of genre, everyone has been really wanting to see like a Resident Evil like series done properly in live action, because it can translate really well into that sort of context. But I'd love to see I would personally love to see a Kill la Kill live action series. I'd even love to see them do a Shaman King live action series as well. That'd be really cool. Or even a Mask TV show in live action context. That'd be amazing to see that.
I did a cartoon a couple of years ago called Super Crooks, which was an original animation. I'm just looking at my IMDb to see what year that was. 2021. It was a TV series, and I played Carmine, the Heat, who was a criminal mastermind, let us say. At least in his own mind, he was a mastermind. That's one that would translate to live action quite easily too. There's quite a few that could, but certainly apocalyptic stuff always, because those are always popular. As like zombie movies, they never seem to run out of steam. There's probably a lot of them that could, and certainly Mask could, just like G.I. Joe and et cetera, et cetera. It's that same kind of a genre, and that could certainly translate to
absolutely. And I think because of the fact of like a lot of especially since we started to see the curse of the video game adaptations and the anime adaptations starting to break, or starting to finally get lifted because of all the adaptations we have in the last few years, anything is totally possible. It's just going to have someone that knows that property back to front to step in and say, all right, you know what? Let's do a live action adaptation of Mask, or live action adaptation of Kill la Kill, or even a live action Metal Gear series with focusing on Psycho Mantis. That'd be amazing.
Absolutely. All I think, like the Mask thing, it failed a couple times. They kept trying to change it, tweak it. And my feeling is certainly you modernize it, because it was the 80s, so the vehicles and the animation and everything are very much at that time. But you don't lose the essence of it. It's the only thing that I feel. If I was the Hollywood bigwig looking at an anime or a game to say, let's go live action, I'd say, what's the essence of the series and the characters, and let's not lose that. Certainly you want to modernize it, things have to change when it's live action, but you have a fan base, and you don't want to disappoint the fan base. they're your first customers who are going to be pouring in the doors to see it. They're the ones that are talking about it online on social media. You want them to be enthused and go, yes, they honored what I enjoyed about whatever that show was. My joy came out of this aspect, and they kept it. Then the critics and the new audiences can come in after because they've read good reviews. But if you lose those first people, your core group, right off the bat, I think flop city. You can't just reinvent it. You've just got to find new ways to show it. But don't totally reinvent it and dishonor what made it popular to begin with.
Absolutely. And I think honestly, if like the people, I don't obviously don't know if it's just one person in charge of Hollywood, but if there was, like you'd be the right person in charge for the entire thing right there.
Well, thank you. Except, I'm not an accountant, and I'm not sitting there going, how can I make the most money out of all this and get my limo? And unfortunately, Hollywood is a business, and those people who come to the top climbed there and stabbed bags and slept with the right. Well, I used to joke with people, well, the reason I'm not a big star in Hollywood is I slept with all the wrong people. I went ahead and slept with people I loved. I didn't think about my career. I wasn't, having a social life to get ahead. I was having a social life to just be friends with people I liked, and so my big mistake. So I'm not suited to be head of a Hollywood studio because I don't have the right mindset. I would love it if they would consult me.
But no, but being there as a consultant or but you have the right mindset for what Hollywood is meant to be straight off the bat, rather than what it currently is now or what it has been for a very long time. And I feel like if that was there, it'd be a much better place to be in right now, without a doubt.
Yeah, well, that's how. I mean, when you look at old black and white films, like from my parents' generation, and they're based on detective novels or whatever, the best ones were the ones I thought that really honored that character in the novel, whatever. If you happen to read it, because I used to read some pretty old books, then I'd go watch a Humphrey Bogart movie, go, yeah, that's he's just like the character in the book. This is great. So right off the bat as a kid, I knew that the more authentic they kept it to the source material, the more I was going to enjoy it. And of course, they're going to vary things a little bit because it's a film, and so because it's a different medium than a written word, certain things have to be shown, not explained. And of course, it's a different medium, but honor the core is what I always feel.
Absolutely, but no, that's fantastic though. Now, of course, going across into Kitty Bungalow, apart from your work as an actor, you're also a really big animal activist involved in the Kitty Bungalow Foundation. How did that come about? Like, what got you inspired into becoming an animal activist?
Well, I've always loved animals since I was a kid, and I like dogs and all animals, but dogs and cats. But as I got older, cats were easy. I was working all the time, so it was easier for me and my ex to have cats who didn't require walking, because I was working 12-hour days. I did not have time to go walk my dog around the block who'd been locked up for 12 hours. Not fair to the animal. So cats became our jam. So and then I started to learn more about them. Initially, I was like a lot of guys. I thought cats can't be your friends. Right now, I've got an upside down cat with his tummy up, lying on my lap. Cats and I get along great. And cats tend to trust me, and I guess I speak their language. They're very loving to me. This cat greets me when I come home, etc. Anyway, I stopped directing, I stopped producing, I stopped writing. I had more time on my hands, and I thought, I want to do something that's. I've always donate. When I started to make money, I would donate to charities and try to do charitable work. And I had I used to give money to people who worked in the healing arts in honor of a friend of mine who had passed away who worked in the healing arts. I would give money to young people who were studying yoga and other healing things to help other people in her name, kind of thing. So I thought, well, in 2012, I'm kind of sitting on my rear end. I'm not working as much, my choice, but I want to do something with my time. So I looked around for no-kill cat shelters, thinking, what's out there? What's that all about? And through the late Fred Willard, who was a comedic actor, who has passed away, comedic film actor primarily, I got an email. I used to work in comedy on stage, so I knew a lot of the same people. I get an email. He's doing a fundraiser for a place called the Kitty Bungalow Charm School for wayward cats. What on earth? okay, well, what is that all about? And I found out it was a backyard shelter. What the primary thing we're doing there, because I ended up volunteering and now serve on the board of the shelter as well and do fundraisers. Um, there are millions of cats everywhere. Australia is the same, I'm sure, being born out on the streets. LA, because of our warm climate year round, we have the most, probably than pretty much anyone. Millions of cats born in the streets who die out there. And they have kids, babies, kittens, constantly. So what we do primarily is something called TNR, trap, neuter, return. If you were feeding a colony of cats and you contacted us and you're in the LA downtown area, not too far from us, and said, they keep having babies, I'm feeding them, but, I went from 10 to 100, we'll come out and trap them, we'll bring them in, get them a vet check, get them spayed and neutered. No more having babies. No more males ripping each other apart to fight over the females and eat. No more cat having 2 or 3 litters a year of babies born in the street with nobody to adopt them. So that's our primary thing. We do take in some animals, like the kittens or whatever, can easily be socialized, and some of the younger cats can be. And some of the cats, when we go ahead and do that TNR thing, we'll find some cats in there that are totally socialized. They either got lost in their home or somebody threw them out or whatever. They're going, hi, human, I like people. No, come on in, kitty. So they become students at Kitty Bungalow Charm School for Wayward Cats. We get them socialized, get them vet checked, get them healthy, get them adopted out. If they're semi-feral, they'll let a human near them and feed them, but they don't want to be in a house, they don't want to be petted. They're like little Joe Pesci cats, you can't mess with them. They can become working cats. We might give them to people who have mattresses in their factory and rats and mice are getting in there. We go, don't put out pesticides that kill animals. Hire 2 of our cats. They become your warehouse cats. You feed them, treat them nice. No more mice, no more rats. They're going to get out of there as soon as they smell the cats. They're gone. So you got 2 working cats. All you have to do is feed them. It's very cheap, and it saves their lives, gives them a function in life, and saves you putting out pesticides. So we do all this type of work, and we've been doing this since I've been with them for a little over 12 years, but we've been around for a little over 14. The organization itself.
That is extraordinary. That is absolutely fantastic right there. And it's really good to see, like, places like, Kitty Bungalow and a whole bunch of charities dedicated to stopping animal cruelty, like RSPCA, which I know we've got a version of it right here in Australia, and a whole bunch of other organizations that are dedicated to that sort of thing, just helping out a lot, just for a very amazing cause. And I feel like if the attitude that you have into these cats, if I think every person across the globe had the same morals and attitude that you had, I think the world would be a better place to live in right now.
Well, my feeling is that without compassion, and that goes for humans as well, obviously, but to me, a man isn't somebody who walks around like this with his fist clenched, no matter how strong he is. A man opens his hand and says, yes, I do have some strength. I'll use that to help you. I'll use that to get food for this orphan. I'll use that to help this poor dog that's lost in the street, or this cat or whatever. To me, a real man uses his strength to be of use in the world, to do something and work out of compassion. Certainly, yes, if everybody worked out of, not being a fool, not giving everything away to some con person or whatever, but just, a certain amount of charity in your life, a certain amount of compassion and caring in your world, this would be a much nicer place to live. And as far as the animals go, just to add, we're responsible for probably 90% of the problems that these other creatures are having, be they elephants or hippopotamuses or cats or dogs. Human beings and our encroachment for profit into the world has caused their environments to be destroyed. Why are there cats in the street? We're the ones who domesticated them. Why are there lost dogs in the street? We're the ones who domesticated them, and then we abandoned them. No, not right. Not right. We owe them something. We owe them a debt. They can't help themselves. They don't have the capacity for it.
Absolutely. No, that is absolutely fantastic right there. That is wonderful. And of course, without going into too many spoilers here, what's next for Doug Stone for the fans to know about?
Well, first, I do want to mention that Kitty Bungalow, and I will get you the link. We're going to be, every year, bless the voice actors, my voice actor friends donate signed prints, Funko Pops. They'll do voice messages, all this great stuff that I'm able to gather from my friends here in LA, and even friends who've left LA and will mail me things, bless them. And I do a voiceover auction that benefits Kitty Bungalow. 100% of the profit goes to Kitty Bungalow. I run it with staff members or with other folk. All the actors donate everything for free, and everything goes to help the cast and save lives. That'll be on Gala Bid starting September 28th, and I will get you the address when it starts. But if you look at, if people just want to look now at galabid.com/voiceerd, PURD 2024. And you'll see that we're starting to amass items on that site. It's not live yet. And I've got a few of those that I have to get off the current site because they were sold last year. We just converted everything over, and now I've got to go through it, pull out what has already been sold, and add a few things that I've gotten since that time to the list. But all that will start September 28th. It'll go live, online bidding, and then we just mail out the goodies to whoever had the highest bid. So you get something real cool, autographed, and at the same time, you're doing something humane. So it's a double wham for your dollar or your whatever your yen or your euro or whatever you're spending. You're getting a double wham because you're also doing a good deed. So your print is coming with good karma attached to it. It's good karma from the actor, good karma from you, good karma from everybody. So it's all positive.
That's fantastic.
So that's what's coming up right away. A thing I may start to do at the end of the year or early next year, just for fun, is I may start a YouTube channel. I'm talking about it, just called Uncle Doug's Storytime, or maybe Grandpa Doug's Storytime. And that's just a free thing. Because of COVID, one of the other things I wanted to do as my career is quietening down and life's quietening down was to go read stories to kids. It was something I did when I first got to LA and had more time in my career. SAG had a program where we'd do after-school readings for children to introduce them to literature and also to keep them company and give them a benign older figure. Some of them are maybe from one-person families. So it was something I wanted to do here in LA for kids who are at shelters. Like, there are women and kids who have been abused and they're in shelters, etc. And I thought I'd love to go there with storybooks and read stories to them. But with COVID, because I'm older, I mask up. So I thought maybe I can do it from home. I'll read stories on camera, puppets, and do voices and whatever else, and I will try to get it to those shelters and whatever, but it'll be free for any kid to watch. Just, a 10-minute story time. So that's a non-commercial thing that I'm planning on doing in the next year.
That is extraordinary, and I think it's, and I will definitely put, and for any of the listeners out there, I will definitely put links to in the description below for the Kitty Bungalow fundraiser and charity, because that is fantastic. And it's really great of you that you said you want to do the stories or Doug's story time kind of thing, which is funny because that's something that I'm starting to get into do on my HannaTalk channel, and adding the acting stuff, but also the story time kind of stuff, in just picking out books from like Dr. Seuss to comic books to manga, doing that whole kind of thing and doing kind of the voice acting thing just for fun more than anything else, but also because I was complimented a lot. In fact, you actually have a really good storytelling voice right there, and especially with yourself, Doug, I can definitely hear you doing like the audiobook narration storytime kind of stuff. That's perfect. That is amazing.
I have done in the past. I have done some audio books. It was odd stories, like they were from the turn of the 1900s, World War I aces flying their planes to fight the Nazis. We've got to get them, boys. Get on board that plane and give those Germans a good licking. It was that sort of old school thing. But also early video games when they were just like on discs. I would do a lot of children's ones, and I have copies of them here. Press the red button to make it go zoom. That's good. Good job. You did great. So I love doing stuff for little children. I really enjoy it. I liked reading live at schools for them. And certainly in your case, for acting, it's great practice. When I was starting out acting, I would read out loud. I would read plays and books out loud. my poor ex had to hear me, sitting in the living room, reading them out loud. But it's good practice as an actor. And some people, if you're good at narration, it's pleasurable for others. So double bang for the buck.
Absolutely.
So why?
Absolutely. And I think really going back to the idea of like how you spoke about with like a lot of actors starting out and everything, obviously, yeah, social media and using YouTube as a really good practicing tool for that, to get that going along, because the more and more you start to do it, the more better you're going to get at it. When you start honing your craft, obviously getting acting lessons from schools and everything, watching masters at their work, knowing how it's done, just like anything else really. It's like that. I know that people will say like, talent and all that kind of stuff. I personally believe 99% hard work, 99% persistence, 1% inspiration, I think is the quote for that.
Yeah, something like that. And I know the quote you mean, and it's, yeah, very true. I've been working since I was 16. I'd had my own business at 21 as of making fine furniture with a partner, but we had 2 or 3 employees. We barely made a living, just young kids. But it gave me experience that I got to show up on time. I've got to cut paychecks with you, like responsibility and business to some extent. I'm not a genius businessman, but I know how to run my own little business. And that's what you have to do as an independent contractor, is you have to be a business person as well. And so, yeah, a lot of sweat, a lot of work. And again, coming in at 3 a.m. and being the monster, that's just a story. I did that in LA studios, 3 a.m. screaming till I couldn't talk, just to get intros to people, rather than go to parties and hope that somebody would hire me. I don't want to go to parties and do coke and get involved in that bad Hollywood scene that existed. I got those invitations in the 80s that said, I'll pass. Thank you. That's not where I want to go. I want to get there through hard work, and I think that gives you more longevity. You get a reputation for being somebody who delivers whatever the product is. Voiceover, music, again, fixing cars, doing haircuts, whatever it is. Take pride in it, be the best you can at it, work hard at it, build a reputation, and word will travel, because there's so many flakes. Word will travel that, oh, they're really reliable. Oh, you want to go to her. She really gets it done on time. That's, to me, what gets you further ahead with the talent.
Absolutely. That's fantastic advice right there.
I can tell you that Psycho Mantis would say, I like all the creatures you have there. They bite. Look at themselves. They can read your mind. They know you want to go to the beach. They're going to eat you. That's what they do. That is their job. I can't remember the accent now. It's been a while since. Usually when I'm going to do Psycho, I play a little bit of Psycho first. On my phone, I have some recording. And, I have to fall back into Psycho Mantis territory again.
But no, that's fantastic though. That's absolutely wonderful. Doug Stone, thank you so much. It's been an absolute honor to have you back.
My pleasure. Thank you.
That is not absolutely fantastic. And is there anything you would like to say to the fans out there in Australia and in the world?
Well, to Australia, just boy, I wish I could. Japan, Australia. There's a few. I've traveled a fair bit, but there's a few places on my I wish I could go to list, and Australia is one of them. And I'm not pulling your chain here or saying it because you're in Australia. I really am fascinated by a lot of aspects of Australia. I'd love to do a tour of Australia sometime. And maybe I will get to a con there at some point, just that I'm still masking because of stupid COVID. But just enjoy, please support live actors, not machine replicas of us. And your support is interesting. Companies do listen to the fans. Even when they won't listen to the actors, if they get a lot of fans kicking up a fuss, if 100 fans contact a company, this is what I've heard. If they contact a company, I know people who were cast in things, and I said, why were they cast years back? They go, the fan base all said, we really want X, Y to be in this show. And so the company said, well, if 20 people wrote us or emailed us or contacted us, that must mean there's thousands and thousands who feel that way. That's just a representation. So even a small group can have a loud voice. So if there are things that you want to see in the industry, don't be shy to write the companies, not the actors. We can't change it. But write to the companies and say, please don't change the core of this or that. Please don't hire machines to do the voices of my favorite actors. Don't put my favorite actors out of work, please, whatever else. That will have a louder voice than my voice. So that would be what I would send out to the fans. And thank you for keeping this industry alive and helping me make a living.
Absolutely. No, but that is fantastic. And of course, for anybody out there asking, I'll put links in the description below for Kitty Bungalow and also the different Comic Cons that are here in Australia. I've spoke about it a little bit in a past video that I did, but I'll be sure to put links in the description below for all the different Comic Cons that are occurring in Australia. And I'm doing everything in my power to get you and all the actors that I've ever had on this channel for 9 years, to get them, the ones that are still acting, to come down to Australia. So I'm doing everything I can to make that happen.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't have a convention manager because I was kind of slow to get into conventions, and then COVID hit. I went, oh shoot, I only want to do ones in California. I don't want to fly, so I haven't even been back to Canada. I've done conventions in Canada, but I haven't been back since COVID to do another one. So, but yeah, I'd love to come and do a convention in Australia and meet my Aussie brothers and tip back a brew and go tour, see the sights.
That would be amazing. That would be absolutely fantastic. Well, we are getting the Christmas edition of Oz Comic Con this year, and I know we've got MetroCon, which is the brand new one that they had last year, and we're going to get Supernova, and of course we've got Armageddon Expo happening as well, which is in New Zealand. So if it's not for this year, it'll definitely be for next year and beyond that. So that would be amazing.
New Zealand too. My group did all the voices for the Hercules and Cena TV shows. My Loop group, voice actors. So we were all the monsters, all the villagers, everybody other than the lead actors. And I didn't get to go to New Zealand. Some of the people did who were involved from here in LA. And I was so envious that they got to go to New Zealand. And it's also a place I'd love to visit. So yeah, all of that would be very cool.
Absolutely. That would be fantastic. That would be absolutely amazing. Well, guys, if you'd like to check out on Doug Stone, you can catch him on the brand new movies and brand new projects he's been doing. And don't forget to check out Kitty Bungalow, which I'll put a link to in the description below. And also check out the comic conventions we have coming up in Australia: Oz Comic Con, Supernova, MetroCon, and Armageddon Expo, which is up in New Zealand. And don't forget to like, subscribe, check out the links below. Don't forget to comment below what you want me to do on my channel going forward, and what is your favorite role of Doug Stone. Thank you all so much for listening. This is Simon and Doug Stone signing off. Bye for now.
Take care, everybody. Be nice to each other.